Okay, another day, another FPL pod. Jack, how you doing?
Josh, I'm very well, thank you. Very well. A good start to the week. I'm in my kitchen. I got my new mic. So let me know how it sounds, viewers.
Sounding
Um,
great.
yeah, excited for another pod. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. I'm on a new desk. Don't have a new mic, but on a new desk.
New
No one
stuff.
can see it.
Wow.
Almost pointless. So cheers.
I'm
Great.
happy for you. I'm happy for you. You built it yourself as well.
Exactly. Thanks, IKEA. Cheers. Cheers for
Very
that.
good. Very good. Well, just like building new desks, we're going to talk about building new teams, potentially, building up from the foundation of our old teams and keep moving forward. Let's make it. It's a day. We've got a day, Josh, until the midweek fixtures. I think we keep this snappy, keep it going. How did you do in
Oh,
Gameweek 30?
well. Thanks, Jack. Good segue, by the way. Love that.
Poor. I thought it was poor, actually. I didn't know where I was
From
going.
building desks to building
Did not
teams.
know
I
where I
love
was
it.
going with that. How did
But
you?
yeah, I did well. I had a good game week. 73 points. Put me in a big green arrow. So just outside the top 300,000 now, 301,000 ish.
Beautiful.
So it was great. Just one of those game weeks where everything went right. Really, the only thing which scuppered me a little bit, if I'm allowed to complain, was the lack of the city clean.
Oh
Was a
yeah,
bit annoying, which that really would have like propelled me to the stars. But
the teeth for sure.
not going to focus on that at all because 73 is great. 115,000 for the game week, just tick, 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 really. And the points were from across the board. So Ramsdale, Trent, Salah, Jota, all coming in with points. Tony and Vardy as well. And then, blanks from Gallagher, Antonio, Rafinha got the one clean sheet point, and then obviously those City defenders. But overall, a lot of my point scorers, apart from the Liverpool players, were kind of lesser owned players as well, which was a good bonus.
Happy days, man. Yeah, and you rolled the transfer, didn't you, as well? So getting an amazing week, not making a transfer. Happy days.
Exactly. I got all kinds of moves planned.
Proud
I
of
do
you.
not. I don't have all kinds of moves. Thanks. It's good. It's nice
Happy
to
for you,
hear.
man. Happy and proud.
Thanks. But what
Um,
about you? How did you do?
yeah, did fine. Had a good week, really. 64 points, not as stellar as you. But yeah, pretty happy. Pretty happy, I went with in the end. It was much talked about and debated in the last pod, but I did go with the double Watford attack. So got King in.
Oh, yes.
Bench Dennis, and of course Harry Kane postponement meant the menace himself came on and menacingly got loads of points for me. Just got loads of points for me off the bench. Really lucky. I mean, that is the best. It's the most lucky thing I've had in FPL for a long time. 10 points from Dennis because Kane didn't play. And yeah, Dennis and King up top doing me proud. I mean, rarely, Josh, all our strikers, apart from your Antonio, but Tony and Vardy for you and Dennis and King for me. What did we say? Things change so fast. So, strikers were looking awful a couple of weeks ago, weren't they? And now they're looking great. So yeah, looks so strange, just two Hornets at the top of my team, but really happy with them. And yeah, they were the highlights really. Trent and Cody and Sanchez doing well at the back for me, getting other points, 8, 9, and 8. Salah captaincy 12 points. For him that seems like low, but it's only because of his crazy standards. It's still a return. I don't think you can ever complain if your captain gets a return. And yeah, that was it really. A bit disappointing from Gallagher and Buemo, Rafinha, the kind of mid-range midfielders, but we'll talk about them in a little bit. As you say, City getting the pointless clean sheet wipe from Lanzini in the last minute. Great goal, but what was the point of that?
Painful.
Really scuppered us, yeah. So my bringing Cancelo in as well, which I did. Looked like it was almost about to pay off, but it didn't. But as I always say, green arrow, cannot complain. So I'm nearly breaking into the million. I think I was when City had the clean. I was finally in the top million. But now, when that wiped, I'm not. So I'm 1.1 mil, but still a rise of a couple of 100,000 spots. So cannot complain.
Moving in the right direction.
We move. We keep
We
moving.
move. We
We
move.
do.
Great. So yeah, that's our teams and how they got on. We want to move on now to XG and XA, that segment which has carved its way into the pod. Start with XG as we have been doing.
A pillar of the pod, a pillar. Yeah, let's start with the XG. So I just peek behind the curtain, listeners. Josh normally prepares this bit, but I prepared it this week using Understat, which is our stats tool of choice. So if you want to look at these stats, go to understat.com. Great website. As you say, Josh, we'll start with the XG. So these are the top three players for XG for the past 5 game weeks. So the players that look like they're going to score the most goals. At number 3, Josh, we've got Diogo Jota. Got a brace this week. What are your thoughts on him? Should we be really getting him in now?
Yeah, I mean, he's in good form, obviously. He could have really bagged a couple more, if we're being completely honest. But from an FPL perspective, we look at the 2 goals that he did score, and we know him as a goal scorer. That's the thing. And the doubts around him at the beginning of the season and throughout the season are all around his minutes. It's never about his ability to return. And when Bobby Firmino is still not, on the pitch or potentially battling for that starting berth, then he's almost an automatic. You got to get him. For you, obviously, it's a bit different because you've got the Salah, Mane, Trent trifecta. So long term, that trifecta is still going to be probably the most threatening, isn't it? Are you considering shifting? I mean, Mane is the obvious one there, isn't it? Are you considering shifting to save a bit of cash?
Oh, yeah, I have considered it. It's tricky. It is annoying. It's annoying because I think Jota, for his price, it's incredible, isn't he? 7.6 or something now.
Yeah, mad.
It's Mane's a 12, so that's like another premium I could get in if I got Jota in for Mane, because I don't think there's much between them. The only good thing I like about Mane is the differential nature of him, and he's so lowly owned because of his price that when he does haul, that's a big rank boost for me. But conversely, not having Jota, that really hurts me when he hauls. So I actually did consider getting Trent out for Jota and having the 3 big boys in the middle. But it's Trent, and it is Trent. I heard a crazy rumor as well that one possibility when AFCON happens is Curtis Jones, I think, comes in for right back, and they might play Trent in the front 3. So to finally give Trent his much protracted berth as an attacking mid, which would just be insane, wouldn't it? I mean, that would become the perma captain. So yeah, I don't know. Right now, I'm not going to get Jota probably, but I really wish I could, and I'd really implore everybody listening to get him in, really, if you can. So yeah, he's great. He's my big fear factor player now. He's the one that when I watch the games, I'll be praying doesn't do the business, but I expect him to. Yeah,
and I guess it's bring him in.
Would you ditch Mane? Would you ditch Mane for him?
If I wanted to spend the money elsewhere, I really don't think there's much between them. And given the golf and value price that you just said,
yeah.
If you're looking at bringing one of them in, it's Jota because of the price difference.
Oh, yeah,
if you've already got Mane, that's the most difficult scenario. You find yourself in the most difficult scenario.
That's the thing, though. There isn't really much money. I don't need loads of money. There is not like another premium I'm desperate to get. I've got Kane and Salah and Trent. Like there aren't really many other. If there was another premium firing, then it might be a bit harder for me. But yeah, I think Mane is like the next best premium to have after those. So it's tough. I don't know. For now, I'm all right.
Perfect segue though. Who's in number 2 spot, Jack?
Well, yeah, this guy. He's so number 2 in the spot, 4.33 XG. Excuse me, over the last 5 game weeks, it's Aubameyang. And well, I'll let you. What do you think?
Yeah, well, he's kind of been peppering these charts, hasn't he, recently? But it's that return. Underlying stats, great. That's a nice little tick in the box for, am I interested in him? Yes, I am. Then you look across at the actual goals and actual assists that he's got in his last 5. 1 goal, 1 assist. And like you said, price-wise, that's not a great return for that. For a team, when he's playing in a team that are doing well at the moment and getting points, he just doesn't seem to be getting those points. So, Martinelli getting that lovely goal in the game against Newcastle this weekend. I'm not going to say that Martinelli is going to start above Aubameyang, but what I'm saying is, why isn't Aubameyang getting more goals
What did you see this? He missed a sitter again.
Off the post. Yeah, what is he doing?
I mean, only more Pay's one looked worse than his this week. I mean, it was awful. Yeah, like we said, like the other week, he's just not the player he was quite, is he? Like he used to be. A couple of seasons ago when he matched Mane and Salah's hauls at 22 goals, he was one of the best strikers. He was arguably he's probably the best striker in the Prem. But something's just dropped up with him. He's not bad, but he's not. I'm not scared of him like I was.
Not at all. And the return of Lukaku now, it's too early to say anything, but we're watching with interested eyes to see how he does over the next few. And as you said, this week marked a week where other forwards popped up with goals. So we'll be interested to see if they do anything consistent with the packed game weeks coming up. So he just seems way too risky and too much of a punt for me.
Yeah, I agree. If anything, this is one of those rare times when a player being high on these charts is a bad sign in a way for him, because he's not returning despite getting the chances. So as a striker, that's a red flag for, okay, so it's not a supply issue. He's getting the opportunities, but he's not delivering, which is what he's there for. So yeah, I'd avoid Aubameyang for now. Even though he's in this top 3 every week for XG. So yeah. So Josh, number 1, I think, spoiler alert, this is the first ever week where Mohamed Salah has not been in the top 3 for XG. And instead we've got the Wonder Hornet, Josh King, at 4.89, 5 goals during that time. So he's kind of matching his XG, which is a really good sign. No assists, so he's doing what he's paid to do and no extras. But for 5.4, is he mil? He's top of these charts, and he's a transfer I'm glad I made. What do you think of Josh King?
Yeah, amazing returns for what is a cheap striker. He's been, repaying the faith that managers like yourself have put in him. I think personally, I'm going to stick my neck out and say I think he's a better choice than Dennis. I know Dennis has got more points. Maybe you can say Dennis is the more bit of a maverick, and I'll hold my hand up and say if Dennis outscores him in the next 5, I've got it completely wrong. But I just feel that King is, over the course of the season, is going to get more points than Dennis. He obviously had the penalty with Sarr not present, so that's a good sign for King owners as well. But he has, since game week 9, I think he's played 90 minutes for all games. Dennis is up and down with the minutes, and he'll be at AFCON. So, another reason that if you're looking at one of those two, to edge towards King, maybe than Dennis. So that would be my take on it. The only disclaimer around that is Watford do not have a great next 2 fixtures, Chelsea and City.
Yeah.
So, if you're desperate to switch strikers, maybe just go with it, because they will be good after that possibly. But if you can wait on shifting your forwards round, and a lot of people like myself are thinking move on people like Antonio who aren't performing, maybe worth holding on to them for 1 or 2 before you swap out for a King or a Dennis.
Yeah, the time to move for them was probably a week or 2 ago for King.
Yeah.
And now you can afford to wait a couple and probably give Antonio another chance if you want to. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Dennis keeps getting the big hauls. Like I think it's going around now, the meme, isn't it? Of only Salah and Dennis have got over 11 attacking returns this season, which is pretty crazy.
Both goats. Both. They're both goats in my eyes.
Oh, they're both equally good. Yeah, I agree with you that King is the one really to go for. He's the one getting these the underlying stats is matching his output, and he's playing more time than Dennis. But as an owner of both, feel very fortunate. I'm grateful, very
Good.
mindful and grateful that I have a both.
Fair play for making the call. Fair play.
Well, Dennis is thanks to you, Joshua. I was lamenting you recommending me getting Dennis back like 2 months ago now, and he did nothing for a few weeks. But you obviously had the eye for the talent, and you saw something we didn't see. So there we are. So that's it. King, Aubameyang, and Jota. Very mixed recommendations from us though on those three. So it just goes to show this data isn't everything. But let's move on to the XA. And I think we've got a repeat, Josh. We've got a three-peat, as they say in basketball, when the same three are here as were here last week. So really, we should just cut in a segment from last week's pod and stick it here.
That'd be most efficient.
Because I'm not too sure much has changed. In number 3, we've got the Cho train, Callum Hudson-Odoi, XA of 2.01. He's only got the 1 assist though in the last 5. What do you think of Cho?
Is it 1 goal, 0 assists?
Yeah, my bad. 1 goal, no assists. Yeah, so he's not even assisted, despite being high on the assist-ometer.
Yeah, I mean, to be consistent with what we said last week, I don't think anything's changed. He's another example of the underlying stats here not really reflecting the returns. I think, people will try and find different ways into that Chelsea lineup, like ways of maybe getting points from other avenues that people aren't looking at. But I think it's go with the proven. At the moment, people like Reece James, if you're gonna try and bring someone in, then go for him. Cho is the Aubameyang of the assists in this case.
Yeah.
Great underlying stats, not good enough returns.
Yeah. And on top of that, I don't think he's nailed necessarily.
True.
He wouldn't surprise me to see him rotated. I do like him as a player, but that Chelsea team, the depth is, rival City's depth, doesn't it? Especially in those sort of attacking wing positions.
It's mad. The players that are just different stages of the season. Now like Pulisic and stuff are back, and Ziyech, and it's just they've got talent everywhere.
Yeah, those academy graduates as well. Like, who thought Loftus-Cheek could be getting a run of the team?
Yeah,
like no one could have foreseen that. I mean, it's scary the depth they've got. But yeah, and that isn't your friend when it comes to FPL, is it? It really isn't. Yeah, a bit frustrating. But yeah, I'd avoid Cho, I think, is our consensus on him. And I've lost the sheet. Here it is. No, it isn't. Here it is. Second spot in the assistometer. He may have dropped out of the XG charts, but he's still in the XA. Mo Salah, 2.37 expected assists. He's got 4 goals and 4 assists in a bit of a league of his own. He's as great as he's been. He dropped off a little bit over the last couple of weeks from his admittedly unique dizzy heights. Are we still confident in captaining him and not really thinking about it? Or are you starting to have that second thoughts maybe, or starting to entertain other captaincy options more than we were a couple of weeks ago?
No, not at all.
Okay. And then number
1? Not at all, because as you said, trying to look at it objectively, we're completely spoiled at the consistency of returns, whether it is assists or goals or whatever. He still is playing for the team with the highest XG. Liverpool's attacking output is insane and continues to be insane. The middle, I think it's the first game definitely this season where the midfield 3 is probably the first team midfield 3 they've actually played together. Henderson, Thiago, Fabinho. And I think what they do is give an even better platform to those front 3 to just really kick on. Got the assist, great assist from Salah. Still had 4 shots. I'm just looking at his stats for that game. Still had 4 shots, 2 key passes. He's involved very much in everything they do. And even though I think you were unlucky to get just the clean 3 points from Mane. He had that, goal disallowed. Any of those front three, I think, are on fire at the moment, and Salah is still the best asset at the three.
Yeah, with Salah, I agree with everything you said about him still being incredible. The only thing that's given me a bit of pause now with regard to the captaincy permanency is Salah has played every minute of every game so far. And with this fixture congestion, I do guess that he might be rested for one or two of them, like he did with Mane recently. I think Klopp has said a little while ago that you just have to play Salah every game. But I do wonder if, just to alleviate some potential fatigue, he might rest him. And so looking at the fixtures, I think the Spurs have Norwich on Saturday. So as a Kane owner, I'm looking at that, and I think Liverpool have got Wolves away, Spurs have got Norwich. That might be one where I think, potentially I might look to captain someone else, depending on how Kane gets on tomorrow. But I don't know. It's just I probably still will go Salah, but I'm less completely knee-jerk, no thinking about it now. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, I know where you're coming from. I still think when you remove all of those other little questions that seep in at this time of year and because other assets are performing, bottom line is it doesn't really matter who they're playing, how many minutes he's played recently. If you don't know if he's going to start or not, and you often won't, I will still chuck the armband on him at the moment, because he's just, there's no argument to the contrary which is strong enough at the moment for me. And especially as the person that you think you may be putting the armband is just nowhere near as likely to, return as consistently as he has been. And in previous years, this is without me looking at all the figures, but Salah does seem to be rotated less than the other two. I mean, that was that famous Mane.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Definitely.
When he got angry when he came off because he said, why is Salah never rotated?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that he is the bottom of the list, of the ones that will be rotated because of fitness or whatever, because he is just a machine as well.
Yeah, he's fit as anything, isn't he? And like you say, even if he will be, we'll never know when that game will be.
Yeah.
So it's kind of pointless guessing it in a way. Yeah, and just when it happens, we'll have to just maybe be a bit frustrated.
Stick to the boring stuff. Perma captain. I know it's boring, but
stay boring. Yeah, stay boring. Right, cool. So that's the XG and XA.
Oh, we've got one more guy.
Don't want to talk about it. We're done. No, you're right. We do. My bad. We do. It's Trent Joshy. We've mentioned him already. I was maybe having some second thoughts, but can you convince me why we should stick with him with 2.97 XA and 5 assists over the last 5 game weeks? Pretty staggering.
Can I just hold up a mirror to what you just said? That's why you should keep him.
Mm-hmm.
That's highest in the XA chart, 5 assists in the last 5. I mean, what more could a man want? Or a woman, if you're a female FPL manager. But what I'm saying is just, you don't need to look elsewhere at the moment. If you've got him, keep him. If you're looking at other people to replace, I mean, Chilwell dropping out recently, there might be some Chile owners who maybe don't have him because of his price, but we said before, he's one of those essential premiums. He is that, that premium defender. Just get him. He's amazing.
Yeah, he is good, isn't he? He's back to his best. And Liverpool are keeping cleans, which maybe they weren't so much a couple of months ago. Yeah, Alisson. I think Alisson's brilliant. Alisson's another great reason to own Trent, because he's the odd time they do let someone through, he's a master at closing one-on-ones down, I think.
I mean, some massive saves. Yeah, huge saves this weekend.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah, Trent. I mean, he's like Salah. He's in a league of his own, isn't he? With his antics at the back. Yeah, Chilwell was looking like he was starting to match him, and he's just been so unlucky with that injury. And you got James and Cancelo as well that we talked about. But yeah, I think Trent's even a level above those guys in terms of FPL potential. Yeah. So that's any notable absentees. Josh, we talked about Salah not being in the XG. Is there anyone notable here? I mean, it was a repeat of last week's the XA. I just think the XG. I was just thinking of Antonio, and we've got the 8-question segment coming up. But it really, he has been absent from these XG stats for quite a while now. And yeah, well, we've got it as a question in the 8 questions. So I don't know why I'm saying it now.
Teaser.
Let's have a break now, and then we'll come to that. Mikkel, we're coming for you.
Perfect. Well, you know what's coming. So let's continue this the other side of the break.
Do it.
Lovely. Back in a sec. And we're back. So Jack, 8 key questions next. You have come up with these 8 key questions and you're going to ask them to me. So I'll pass the baton to you.
Thank you, Josh. Yep, the big 8, probably our most popular section now, I would say. So These are 8 questions contextually based in this point in time where we are, about some are specific and some are vague, but hopefully all will be useful to you in deciding what to do for the upcoming game week. So number 1 is, and this is a bit of a selfish one because I felt good about it, but is the King Dennis double up so crazy that it just might work? Is it worth doing, Josh?
Well, I should say it has worked for a period of time, i.e. last game week. I don't feel confident it will continue to work, especially for the next 2 with those fixtures that they've got.
Mm-hmm.
So someone in my situation where I've got neither of these guys, yes, I want one of them. And the answer to which one I want is King, because of what we covered during the XG discussions. He's got the highest XG. Well, Star's out, he's on pens. He's had consistently 90 minutes for every game since game week 9. I have most confidence in him that out of the 2 of them, that he will return the most points for the rest of the season. That said, Dennis does have the most points out of them for the season so far, but I still think that that's part of that like Maverick overperformance a little bit. So yeah, I'd only take one of them, and I'd take King.
Yeah.
Do you disagree as a double owner?
No, I do agree. I think it's been great. If you'd had them both, it's been a good time. You mentioned AFCON earlier. I have done a little research into the Nigerian national team situation, and apparently it's a bit of a toss-up between him and our old friend Igalo as to who's going to go. Because apparently the consensus is Dennis should go because he's on form, he's younger, and Igalo is pretty much past it now. But the manager really likes Igalo. So apparently it's still up in the air whether Dennis will go with Nigeria, but it's definitely one to keep an eye on.
So don't let that sway you at this point.
Not right now. If that's the only reason you're not getting Dennis, I think he might be worth it. But yeah, it's tricky. And there just aren't that many, as we've said, cheap strikers that are any good, really. But yeah, I think hold for now. If you've got them both, hold for now. And he's great on the bench, Dennis. He's cheap enough to warrant going on the bench for the harder fixtures. And when he comes on, he often comes on with a gift for you if he does come on. And he's more likely to come on over these Christmas fixtures as we get some more unexpected rotation, I think.
For sure.
Good. That was number 1. Number 2, Josh, is Sancho worthy of our attention now? Couple of goals for United.
No.
Yeah, come.
Right. I'm going with quick answers this time.
Yeah, I like it. Got places to be.
Bottom line is, I think a defensive error for him to get his goal for United.
Yeah.
United had I think they were quite lucky to get away with a draw against Chelsea. The other thing is Ranić, is coming in, and we don't really know what the preferred formation, player personnel, all that kind of stuff. So all that screams to me is uncertainty, and not enough form, like positive form from Sancho to mean that he's nailed on through any new manager coming in. So just a wait and see, a boring wait and see for me. Are you interested in them though, Jaden?
No, I'm with you on that. I think United fans are going to be jumping on him. Just
So
because
the
of the
ownership
United
could
hype. Yeah,
become
the
an issue.
ownership will rocket. So you've always got to keep like an extra eye on United assets, because they do start doing well and you don't have them. You can fall down the ranks quicker than another type of player, just because of the fan base behind them. He's potentially good, I think.
Yeah.
9.5 is he? Maybe a bit cheaper now. But if he keeps getting starts, and if United, it's a bit harsh to judge United against Chelsea, I think. This week will be a lot more interesting. Who do they have again? It's someone not that. Who they got
United,
this week?
Arsenal.
Oh, they got Arsenal. Yeah, so that'll be. I think that's more of a fairer test for them. It'll be a challenge, but it'll be one they're expected to win. Whereas everyone thought Chelsea were going to whip them, didn't they?
Yeah.
So there's more pressure on them this game, and yeah, it'd be interesting if he keeps starting and keeps delivering, because it was a bit fortunate, but I thought he took his goal pretty well, considering Rashford sort of screwed him over by just staying offside the whole time. And he took his goal really well. But yeah, keep an eye on, I would say. Cool. Number 3, Josh, Norwich could end the month with the most points gained of any team this month, which is crazy under my boy Dean. If they get a result against Newcastle. So last week we asked, are they no longer the whipping boys? And we thought they probably still are. But now I'm asking, should we consider any of their assets?
I mean, I want to be able to say something with confidence here, but I really can't. And I did take a little look at, the performance, the players that might be interested when I saw you were going to ask this question. And the only two that popped up for me are Aaron's, as you know, as a kind of attacking defender, if you think that they're going to get some cleans.
Yeah.
And of course, Pookie at the top, because he is the main man going forward. He's had bag 2 in, the last, was it 4, something like that, 4 games, that is. So, but I'm not overwhelmed with confidence in either of them to continue their performances. So I really think it's the case of, yeah, you've picked Norwich out because they've been interesting in the last few game weeks, but there's no particular asset that I'm like, this guy's been killing it. Pookie has done well, but he's not exactly like blown everyone's socks off. So it does feel like we're chasing an asset from Norwich because of their good performance, but it seems like it's just been spread across the players really. And Pookie, he's still only got 47 points or something, which is, he's being outperformed by those premium defenders quite considerably. Like, do you want to waste your money on him really?
Yeah, and their fixtures aren't the best really. But after they've obviously got the big game against Newcastle, that I think they probably will win that. But then it's Spurs, United, Villa, West Ham, so not the easiest. And yeah, Pookie is all right, I think. I think if you are looking for a cheap striker, it's slim pickings anyway, and you can do worse than him.
Yeah.
And Aaron should have scored at the weekend, but yeah, it's a big compliment to them to say that they were even asking this question. It shows how much they've improved in a pretty short space of time. But yeah, for now, hold off. Similar to Sancho, hold off still. And I need to come up with better questions for this, because we're just saying hold off on all of them. Number 4, did the Spurs Burnley cancellation show that we need strong benches over this period?
I'd say that we will need strong benches over this period, not because of the weather, just because it's, the Christmas season with the jam-packed fixture list, basically. I think we said before, we think that players, even to Salah's level, who should be nailed most games, may be rotated. So that applies to any asset almost anywhere, basically what we're saying. So, and you can't predict it. So I think it's a case of definitely have playing bench players. You don't need to spread your value into your bench, but definitely have playing defenders, playing assets. And the reason I said defenders, like people like Livramento, there are cheap assets out there that can, bring decent returns. So if you're not putting up fires in your starting lineup, then that's something to look at. But it's going to be games thick and fast now.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, I mean the Spurs thing was the last game cancelled for snow was in 2010. So it is literally a once in a decade occurrence that a game's cancelled for snow.
Wait, let me pencil that in. So that's going to be
2031. Get a good bench.
Good.
Yeah, so I don't think it's very unlikely that that'll happen again. But you're right. Generally, have a good bench because of Christmas fixtures. I would say a good bench doesn't mean you've got players worth 7 or 8 million on your bench, though. A good bench to me means you've got good 4.5s and 5.5s, that you've got the best versions of them, because you don't want to be crazy rotating 14 good players instead of having 11 great players and 3 decent backups that will do you a favor when you come on. So yeah, it doesn't mean load your bench up with money, having a good bench. It means get 90 minutes on your bench, really, doesn't it? So yeah, that's what I'd still aim for, which is the same at any point of the season, really. You never want non-playing players on your bench.
But we're all guilty sometimes of holding on to that third bench spot who's been injured for how long.
It's the most depressing transfer to make, isn't it?
Yeah, and what we're saying now is that person's priority of shifting them out has gone up your list a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. That's the thing. Yeah, if you've got a 3.9er who's never playing, probably worth spending a transfer, getting a 4er in that is playing, that you will never play again. Get Johnson in from West Ham or whoever, just because the day you'll need him, you'll regret it. A guy in our mini league that we're in, 8 of his players didn't play this week, and he didn't even have a Burnley player. Like he just, Havertz, Son, Kane, Foster, a random YouTube injury for him. It was really unlucky, but it just goes to show.
Happens.
It does. Number 5, Villa, my beloved Villa. 2 good wins for Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa against Palace and Brighton. Once again, Josh, I'm asking you, should we consider Villa assets? And if so, who?
But I saw the Villa result. I was waiting for the Villa question this week.
Finally, I could put a Villa question.
I knew there would be.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's still very early doors, but what we're seeing from Villa for sure is an upping of the intensity from what I've seen. And you'll have to correct me here, Jack, because you watch, more minutes of Villa. Up of the intensity, that midfield especially sticking close to each other, winning first and second balls. If they don't win the first, there's another midfielder within 10 yards of them to sweep up. So they're making it really hard to play in the middle of the park. But they're also, getting numbers forward from what I could see. The McGinn goal, that was quite late in the game. You had about 5 or 6 players up, like on the edge of their box. That's late in the game. I know you're 1-0 up, so they're not like shying away from the results. So I guess what that says is you've got confidence that they're going to go for goals and play with bravery throughout 90 minutes. So people like Ollie Watkins, he looks like he's maybe not given a free role, but he's popping up all over the pitch, coming deep, making runs across the park. To me, it looks like Stevie G is giving him a bit of not a complete free role, but he's given him shouldered him with a lot of responsibility going forward. Maybe that'll change when Ings comes back, but Watkins looked good for me, and I'll be keeping my eye on him.
Yeah, Watkins. Yeah, I don't know why, but Watkins has never really appealed to me FPL wise. Like, I love him as a Villa fan, but he just has a bit of that. When some players just don't. I get it with Callum Wilson as well, and Jamie Vardy sometimes. I don't know what it is, but that's a bias of mine rather than anything based on any facts, because those 3 players have all shown they could do it FPL wise. We're playing now in a way that you want a fit Danny Ings as an FPL manager. You want a fit Danny Ings as the arrow point to it all, and he was benched, interestingly, against Palace. So it remains to be seen what Gerrard thinks of him, whether Gerrard views him as a a mainstay fixture in the team or not, really. Because a lot of Villa fans don't think we really needed Ings. It was kind of it's like the Villa's Ronaldo signing. You know, it's an opportunity. He's a great player. We may as well buy him type thing. Does he really fit in the team? Oh, don't worry about that. It's Danny Ings. And yeah, I still think it's too early again to have the same answer to know whether Buendia or Bailey or McGinn is going to be a good FPL asset, because they're not cheap. They're not, Watford prices. They're a little bit more. So that can be, you need more reason behind, you need more evidence before you make a move for one of them. And that goes for Watkins as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm visualizing like a horse race where all the horses are different Villa players, and there's quite a few neck and neck at the finish line, isn't there, for which ones you pick, and the ones you've listed, none of them have stuck their neck or their nose out to take that transfer for you to pick them.
Yeah.
All the ones you've listed, yeah, they're going to win, or they're pushing to win, but we don't know which one yet. We don't know which one.
Good analogy, Josh. Good analogy.
Maybe.
Wait for the final furlong.
There we go.
For that. Yeah, I think, it's not, I'm not buying any Villa players yet, put it that way. Good. Villa question done. 6. Leeds, Josh, look pretty awful. Is it game over for Rafinha as an FPL asset?
I think it depends where you're sitting in this FPL universe.
I need definitive answers, Josh. I don't want
Damn
this.
it. Is it over for Rafinha? No, it is not over for Rafinha.
Okay.
But we're less confident in his ability to perform consistently because the team are shocking. So therefore, he's not going to get as much good ball. They're not going to be on the front foot as much, supposedly, until they turn around the form that they're in. It still stands what we were discussing earlier in the season about talismans for weaker teams, that they are still good assets. People like Sarr, when Watford was shocking, we still said, he's worth looking at. And at his price point, if you've got Rafinha in, I think you've got possibly bigger problems than having to get him out. And as you said yourself, Jack, I think it's something that FPL General said, don't focus on the negative moves, who you want to get out. Focus on who you want to bring in, and then look who needs to be sacrificed for that move. Be glass half full.
Yeah, it's a weird school of thought, that, isn't it? Because I also hear, when I hear something like that, I'm like, sage advice, beautiful. That's how I need to play the game. But then I think I heard, it was the Always Cheating guys say, look at the fires you need to put out in your team. Look at the problems in your team. Forget players that you want. Put out the fight. Solve your biggest problem each week. And I'm like, oh, great advice. Sage advice. So those two go against each other. Maybe it's a question for another time, but like, I think you need both of those, don't you? If your defense is awful, but you really want to get that attacking player in, you're probably better off sorting out your defense than making a sideways move, aren't you? I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, I'd say we like putting things into boxes, but it's a sliding scale. So if 0 is Salah and 10 is someone who's going to burn the whole town down, not let alone your house, then Rafinha's at like a 6 or 7, I'd say.
I'm not following you on that analogy, sorry.
So like
Salah.
These fires in your
right,
team. If
fire
Salah
analogy,
is
sure,
an ice cube at 0, he's not burning. But 10 is, the fire who's all consuming and ruining your team week in, week out.
Fine.
Then Rafinha in this case, for me, is like a 6 or 7. Who's
really, that's quite high on the flame scale.
Yeah, potentially.
Over 5, do you think?
Yeah, I'd say it's more like a flamethrower, not yet a fire spin.
Okay, pretty scary though.
For the Pokemon analogy.
Pretty good. Oh, sure. Pokemon moves, not actual flamethrower gun. Yeah.
Yeah, good. But yeah,
I'd
say
keep
him.
You'd keep a flamethrower. I'm sick of him. Actually, I wrote this question because and I watched for some reason, I watched the full Brighton Leeds game, 90 minutes, and like Brighton should have battered them. Like it was the most one-sided 0-0 I've seen for a long time. More pay finishing awful, but Brighton destroyed them, and Leeds were they looked like relegation candidates to me. And it does make me wonder why Bielsa's not getting the scrutiny that some other managers get in that scenario. Rafinha was just not. Rafinha wasn't even looking like that. That Louis Zaha under Roy Hodgson, that he could pull something out of the hat mode. He even looked dejected. So I just think, I'm not excited about Rafinha in my team now.
Well, the listeners have got two opposing opinions.
Finally, it's taken us 16 episodes to disagree on.
Pod cancelled.
The annoying thing about him is his price. Obviously, 6.5 is a very good price for him, and so but that means he's not an easy move to a Foden or a Gundogan or even a Tielemans. Like he's still value, isn't he? So tricky. So that's Rafinha. Make of that what you will. Leicester, Josh, looks strong against Watford, but is it a false dawn? They've been pretty poor up until that Watford game. Leicester on your radar again after that? You've got Vardy.
I mean, what it does say for me is I'm a little bit happier to hold on to Vardy for a little bit longer. But Watford are leaky, and I think we are waiting for the game week or the game weeks when Leicester start playing better again, because we know they've been underperforming. They are a better team than their results show. We haven't seen anything to point towards a turnaround yet. That's the first sign. So let's see over Christmas how they do with this jam-packed fixture. But as a Vardy owner, it was a little bit encouraging to see him find the net again. And I'm happy to hold on to him for a little bit longer now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair. Would you bring him in if you're looking, say you've got Ronaldo or Kane, or Antonio, and you've got a bit of money, do you think Vardy's a buy, or do you think he's just a keep?
That's two sideways for me. I think, he did great, but you're chasing a performance in one game week of the last 5 or whatever, which is just too knee-jerk for my liking. If I was in that scenario, I'd either hold or look to go cheaper for your Kings or people like that. Yeah. And even then, with King, with the fixtures he's got, I probably would just hold on to whoever you've got in the meantime.
The theme is don't do anything with strikers, is it? Just whoever you've got, keep.
Sit on your hands.
To any of the others. I guess what I would say about Leicester is they are Rodgers and Vardy are, it's a streaky manager and a streaky player. They just had a bad streak. And if this is the turn of the good streak that they can have, then getting on early might pay dividends if you believe in that. If you believe that's the way they kind of are. Vardy can do it, can't he?
I'm smiling because you remind me of the guy at the casino who's looking at the roulette being like, there's been 4 reds in a row. This is surely time for it to land.
That's
on the
me
back.
At the casino. That's us at the casino.
That is us.
The day. Yeah, he's due. We're due a black.
He's due.
We're due 5 blacks. I don't know. But I do think Vardy especially has shown that he is like that. Scores for 5 in a row. Everyone gets him in, blanks for 5 in a row. So if this is the start of that 5, who knows? I mean, it's Christmas fixtures. Vardy, of all people, they've got that quite good. Who's their striker they bought? Daka, who's been banging them in Europe. So you'd imagine he'd be knocking on the door a little bit, and then Iheanacho as well to give Vardy some respite. So
and the fixtures aren't terrible. Southampton, Villa, Newcastle, Spurs, Everton. So definitely the Southampton, Newcastle, Everton look pretty tasty there. Yeah. So it's a hold for me.
I'll tell you, I'm not sold on Maddison. Like, definitely very lucky, very, very took it well, but very lucky opportunity for his goal. And he's just
the epitome of streaky.
Epitome.
Do
people say, or am I saying it wrong?
He's the epitome, right? Epitome.
Is epitome another way to say
I thought it was
epitome.
Comment and
I like epitome. Sounds better than epitome, but I've only ever heard epitome.
Well,
I'll start saying epitome.
I've
See what
possibly been
happens.
using it wrong for years and years and years.
I like
but
epitome. Let's stick
as
with
soon as this
epitome.
pod's done, I'm going to
On
look it
this
up straight away.
pod, we say epitome.
We say epitome. Thank you. Good. From this day forward.
Love it. Final question. And it's with a heavy heart I asked this, but it's another blank for Antonio. It's surely time to move on from him. We just said sit on your hands for strikers, but is this the exception?
I think he's got to be pretty high up your list to get out. I think 0.
What's happened to him?
No idea. No idea. That's part of the reason why I think he's showing you no signs to hold on to him. Like 0 shots, I think, from the last game, an XG of 0.
What's he doing?
What we were saying a couple of weeks ago to 3-4 weeks ago, that at least he's in the mix. At least he's having shots. At least he's getting positions. At least he's involved in the build-up. But he's not really showing that at the moment. And I know we said before we were expecting that through a tough fixtures, but he started to underperform before they even hit these tough fixtures. So, yeah, I would unfortunately say that Antonio, I would look to get rid of him. The only reason I'm not is because I think there's other players that I'd want to bring in my team, for example, more importantly than getting him out. So like I'd want Reece James, for example, which is a higher priority than getting Antonio out for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that striker problem. There's not really anyone you really want to get in. So who do you get in for him? And again, he's that mid-range price where you can't get a Lukaku or Kane or Ronaldo. So you're looking his price and lower, which there just aren't that many appetizing options. But yeah, he's really fallen off now. There's no denying it. And that's coincided with West Ham as a whole having a bit of a dip. So
sad times.
It is sad time because he looked so good, didn't he, at the start? He really did. But there we go. That's it, Josh, for the 8 questions. Well answered.
Lovely. Well questioned.
Yes, very
Key
good.
fixtures next.
Good.
Do you want to switch it and me kick them to you because you've been
kick them?
Let's do it. So
you
pick 3. You pick 3 key fixtures for this game week.
Yeah.
And I like how they look. And so let's let the listeners know what they are. So first up of the key fixtures, Watford at home to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Are you confident that Watford can keep scoring goals against the team that has conceded the least number of goals?
Yeah, this is why I picked this one really, because it's a tricky one if you've got Watford assets here, particularly the Kings and the Dennises, about what to do with them. I think you're probably better off benching them against Chelsea. I'm playing King just because the other options aren't so good. But I think Chelsea are going to obliterate Watford here. And I actually thought the Man U lineup, the Chelsea Man U lineup, was like not a B team, but it wasn't their strongest team, I didn't think. You had Lukaku, Pulisic, Havertz, and Mount on the bench, which I think you could argue would go into their best 11. Those certainly 3 out of those 4 players would. Foster's out and Backman didn't look very good against Leicester. They've just conceded 4 to an out of form Leicester, and I think it could be a demolition. That being said, they do tend to score a goal or 2, don't they? Even in the defeats, they've got creativity there. I don't know if Sarr's back.
Not sure.
No, I'm not sure he is, but if he is, then that'd be good for them. But yeah, not a week for your Watford boys. And yeah, and I'd try and get, if you're after a James or another Chelsea asset, I'd get them in if you can for this one.
So you're confident of the clean then for Chelsea?
Yeah, I would. If I had to guess, I'd say I'd be surprised if Watford got a goal, if King scored, or if they squeaked one. But yeah, not a great fixture for Watford this, as we said, and they got City afterwards. So yeah, hold off on your Watford purchases. Yeah. Do you concur with that? I mean, or am I being too harsh on their goal scoring ability?
No, I agree completely. They have it in them to score a goal, but against the arguably the best defense in the league, the only way they're going to score in my eyes is if from a Chelsea mistake, an error like the Sancho goal.
Yeah.
And Chelsea don't do that every week. So will lightning strike twice? Tune in next week. But no, so I think when you bought those Watford assets, you knew that there are games that aren't going to be as appetizing, and that's this week. So
Yeah.
play them or not, but you just got to grin and bear through these game weeks when you got those players.
Grin and bear it. Yeah.
Grin and bear it.
Good advice.
Next, second fixture, Spurs. They'll get to play this week, hopefully, against Brentford.
Yeah, I picked this one because it's very hard to call this one. Brentford looked quite good, I thought, when I watched them the other day. Who were they? Was it yesterday I watched them? Would have been, wouldn't it? Yeah, they played Everton. And they were by far the better team. Everton are a disaster at the moment, but they look tidy. And Spurs are just, who knows what's going to happen with them. You know, there's a lot of talk in the FPL community about getting Spurs assets in off the back of not a lot of evidence on the pitch, but more sort of speculation of the future gains, isn't it? It's a classic sort of value pick, futures prediction with Spurs. And I think Brentford assets could do well here. You know, and Wemo is very frustrating to watch. And he's similar to Spurs, why people are bringing Spurs assets in. We all brought him in because we thought the gains would come. Same with Tony, and luckily he's paying off now. But yeah, I think this could be good for both teams, players in both teams this game. What do you think? And I don't know which way the result's going to go. What do you think?
I agree entirely. Brentford have shown vulnerability recently, and I think although they were the better team against Everton, there were parts of the game when Everton were having a good go at them, you know, and they pinned them back a little bit, and Everton aren't by any means a team on form at the moment. So I think that does show Brentford's vulnerability. Like even Tony got his goal, obviously the penalty, only had one shot, and he was given man of the match. Like more so for his running and stuff off the ball than, you know, his performance with the ball. So, and the Spurs side of it, you're right. People's excitement from an FPL perspective is really the assumption that the more time, you know, the new manager has, the better performance he'll get out of the team. That's no guarantee. And their performance in Europe the other day kind of shows that. So I think you're right. We don't really know what's going to happen at all, and therefore back both sides. If you got your just play everyone, and anything could happen. And Buemo could easily pop up with a goal because Spurs are leaky at the back, but then Kane could bag a few because Brentford have been vulnerable as well. So
just Kane, it's going to be. This is a great acid test for Kane and the people that have punted on Kane like me, and the people thinking of getting Kane. Because if he doesn't perform again here, then it's a lot of money to have tied up in something that just isn't looking like going anywhere.
Yeah. He's done. He's done what he's saying.
He is done in the Prem. If he can't score now, when's he gonna? You know, he's scoring against whoever they are, a bunch of farmers in Europe, sure, but different ball game in the Prem, and he needs to be fully up for it to do it. But yeah,
harsh words, but true words.
Yeah,
I like it.
Sort it out, Harry.
Sort out. Third fixture that you've chosen and the final is United at home to Arsenal. Kind of mentioned this before, but we didn't talk about it from what you think the result will be and who you think could perform in it. So hit me with your best shot.
Yeah, I think Arsenal. Look, I always predict against Man U, but I think Arsenal. Like you said, United got pretty lucky against Chelsea. I don't know what Carrick was on about in that post-match interview, like just talking absolute nonsense. Definite penalty. United got dominated. He's chatting nonsense, and I think Arsenal are in it's still good vibes in the Arsenal camp. They're on a good run. Saka and Smith Rowe are looking great. Aubameyang, despite his problems, is getting the chances. And Maguire is still No, it was a second yellow, wasn't it? So he'll be back.
I think that's right.
But Varane's still injured. Yeah, I think Arsenal might win this, but it's one to watch because Arsenal United's always great to watch, but it's the Sanchos and the Ronaldos, and it's those assets that we've got our eyes on, that this is the type of game to judge them on, not the Chelsea game. And if United do get a result here, then I think there'll be a lot of radars, and even the non-Man United fans' radars, thinking, okay, are we back on now for United assets? Because the talent is crazy, isn't it, in that team? And if we can get a tune out of them, then, if we can take advantage of the new manager bounce that may well happen there, then we have to do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a good test for both teams. I think they both good time for it to come. Well, probably a good time for Arsenal for it to come. United would have wanted more time, but yeah, and probably quite high ownership in terms of FPL assets in there as well, because people still got Ronaldo, and on the Arsenal side, there's a lot of interesting players in there as well.
There's a lot of Smith Rowe ownership, isn't there? Neither of us have him. Are you tempted with ESR?
He's probably the one I'd go to if I was to get rid of Rafinha that you mentioned
over Saka.
earlier.
Yeah.
Probably the stats that I've seen is probably a week old now, but they were really came to the conclusion that Smith Rowe is overperforming on his stats, and you don't like to see that.
No one likes that.
He's wearing that number 10 shirt, so they obviously back him there, and I think he's going to be still key to them. I like it. I'll probably go with him over Saka.
Yeah, it's tough. That's a tough one between them two. Saka obviously got his goal, but he did go off injured, actually, Saka, didn't he, after the goal? I don't know what the latest is on that. But yeah, I mean, Smith Rowe, what I would say, 6 million, pretty damn good value. But yeah, I don't know. He's another one of those that I just don't like from an FPL perspective, really. I don't know why.
He's that in between, isn't he? Like, as an attacking midfielder, you really want either the really hyper creative technical person who's on corners, free kicks, getting assists like your Bruno Fernandes and bagging goals left, right, and centre, or like the really high output goal scoring midfielders. And he hasn't proven himself to be either. He could be a mix of the both, which would be great, but we're still kind of waiting to see. He still hasn't had a lot of minutes, is he, in the Prem? So
yeah,
like massive. So, but
yeah, be a fascinating one. But yeah, I think both teams can score in this one. So definitely play your assets and hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Great. That's key fixtures done. Take a little break and then we'll look at transfer and captaincy for game week 14.
Cool. Happy days.
Lovely. See you in a sec. Back again, Jack. So as promised, game week 14 transfer and captaincies. Can I kick it to you first? What are you thinking?
You're kicking it always to me first, Josh, on this part.
Sorry,
I like
are you
it.
ready?
First touch. I'm ready. I am ready. Yeah, bit of a dilemma this week for me. As I've mentioned, I'm unhappy, Josh, with two of my midfielders, really, Rafinha and Wemo. But, and I want James in at fullback, but there's no easy route for me. There's no easy way for me to do it, really. So I feel like I'm forced to roll. I'm kind of backed into a rolling corner. There's no one. I don't know. It's tough. My initial thought was, right, Rafinha, watching that Leeds, I was like, Rafinha's got to go. And then I saw Gundogan doing well. And I thought, I wouldn't mind a bit of that, a bit of Gundog. But money-wise, I can't afford it with just one transfer. And if I did make that move, that's pretty much blocks me out of a James move, unless I did something big like push Mane down to Jota and then get James in. So, and I'm not willing to do that for a hit either. So I think I'm best served by just rolling, getting another week's worth of data in, seeing the lay of the land ahead of the weekend after the midweek fixtures and going with that. So that's me presently rolling and with a Salah captaincy.
Lovely. I mean, theme of the pod, sit on your hands, right?
Sit on those hands, hand sitters. That's us. That is us this week. What about you, Joshua?
So yeah, a couple of things that I'm unhappy with. Duffy. Not happy with him for the obvious reasons. Is he's not even playing.
No,
So,
unexpected.
and the other one you've already mentioned, Antonio. Those are probably the only two that I'm looking at. But I do have two transfers. So my
Funnily
initial.
enough, they're the two. Sorry, they're the two what he got out last week for
Oh,
King and Cancelo.
just
So there we
copying
are. There you go.
Well, I may be following you in even half of that move because King has interested me despite those fixtures. I have coverage, so I maybe don't have to start him, but he's someone that I want, and I'd really be going for him for the price point. So if I downgrade Antonio to him, that gives me 2 mil in the bank, or 2 mil to play with, upgrade Duffy to a James. That leaves me very defensive heavy because I'll have James, Trent, Cancelo, and Diaz.
That's very good though, isn't it?
But their output recently has been great. And despite the forwards not really, well, getting the points this week, no one or two has really kind of said they need to be there long term. So
I would do that, man. I would definitely. If I were you, you've got the two transfers. That seems like a no-brainer to me.
And the Watford fixture for James, I think, is quite. And tasty. With Chile out at the moment and all that, I think he's definitely going to be getting.
And he played him on the left, didn't he? He didn't even
when Alonso came off.
Yeah, that James could be deployed on both flanks, which is promising for owners, I think.
Yeah, it seems like Tuchel he's the one he has most confidence in out of those rotating fullbacks at the moment. So it's great to see. Great to see.
Oh, it is. Oh yeah, he's brilliant, James. I love him. I think he's class.
So yeah, that's my plan. And then captaincy, Salah. I said earlier in the pod.
Sticking with Mo.
Still happy with Mo. Still trust him.
Yeah.
Trust in my life. There you go.
Yeah. Trust Mo. Trust in Mohammed. Right. Those are our moves. Next bit, Josh, we're looking at the algorithms. Are we?
How did they do?
Algorithm is a dancer. Let's see how they did. So the algorithm teams, you've got the XG11, we've got the differential 11 running off an algorithm in terms of their transfers and their captaincies. Let's see how they got on this week. So XG11 made one move, which was to take out Tarkowski, who's injured, and bring in Janssen of Brentford, who did well and got 5 points. So a good transfer. Overall, 63 points.
Not bad.
For the XG11. It's not bad at all. Not bad. Gameweek rank of 600k, which is nothing to sniff at. Gives them a green arrow up to 2.1 mil. So they're climbing, Josh. The XG11 are climbing after a bit of a dip there. It's the trifecta midfield of Salah, Jota, and Mane are really doing well for them week on week, as you'd probably expect. Salah with 12 from the captaincy, Jota with the 14, of course, and the back three doing very well. So Ben Mee also didn't play, obviously, because of the postponement. So young Williams came on for Norwich and got 7 points. So that's great for him and great for the XG 11. Aubameyang, Antonio. We are going to have to get rid of Antonio this week, the algorithm dictates, because he's fallen so far in the XG stats. Antonio has to go from XG 11. And who comes in but the man himself, Josh King, top of the XG, as we've seen. So that dictates it. So Josh is in for Antonio. We'll see how he gets on this week. Differential United, less of a good week for our differential boys. 43 points. I think that was below the average in the end. Just 1 point below the average. So not a total disaster, but not what the differential manager would have wanted, I don't think, from his players. So, disappointments from Bowen, who is benched. Fornals hasn't done anything for a while. The Mane blanking captaincy, not very good. Small rays of hope from Henry, Semedo, and Meslier in goal. And actually, the transfer that came in was Jadon Sancho, who, of course, scored.
No way.
So a good little transfer for the differential 11. Yeah, solo owned. And I believe also the transfer has been made by the differential 11. So we'll just end on that here. I'll just bring up what the differential 11 transfer did do. Apologies for not being prepared for this. The guy to come in was young Riyad Mahrez.
Oh,
So a good performance from Mahrez on Saturday has caught the eye of the differential 11 manager, and we'll see how he does this week.
lovely. Good to
There we
see the
are.
XG doing well. Differential
Great to
needs to be
see.
better.
Great to see. So there's an update. I think now we're a third of the way through the season. I might do a separate video just on the progress of the algorithm teams. So to have a look out for that on YouTube, if that's how you consume another FPL podcast. Yeah.
Lovely. And yeah, on that note, like and subscribe if you are watching, or follow whatever platform that you are there, and email us another fplpod@gmail.com and comment, we'll reply. We love getting comments, start
Please
some
comment.
discussions.
Yeah, hit us a like, smash that like button. Helps everybody. It's a win-win.
Great. And that's it. Thanks, Jack. And speak to you next week.
Cool. Have a good game week.
Lovely. Take care.